Welcome to Nobody's Listening, my podcast where I sit here and talk to myself because nobody else cares about what I have to say. So today I decided, because it's my first episode, that I would read some Am I the Assholes from Reddit, because I enjoy listening to them, and I'm opinionated on them. Maybe I'm a good judge of if you're an asshole. Probably not, but maybe. So I have a few printed out here because I didn't want to have my computer up at the same time as doing this and have the camera, computer, and 10 other things going on, because I have the attention span of a flea. And so I'm gonna read them from these printouts. Some sexy ASMR for you. And here we go. So the first one is, am I the asshole for canceling the family trip because my stepson damaged my plants? And I always think it's kind of fun to look at these Am I the Assholes and look at just the title at first and be like, well. And so this one I feel like it's kind of neutral about the title though. I wouldn't know just from the title. But you know how sometimes you're like yes or no just from the title, and you're like, I don't need to read your TLDR, I don't need to read this. But this one I kind of am indifferent about, which is why I wanted to do it first. I'm indifferent about the title, not indifferent about the situation. So I'm just gonna do my thought process while I read these. So I grow indoor plants and keep them around the house, whether by the kitchen window or out in the front porch. I have a variety of plants, like lily, aloe vera, which is the best plant, by the way, and I want to get some. Also, flowers, and they all require care and attention. It's a hobby of mine. And because I don't own enough space, I just stick to indoor planting. Which, I kind of love plants, but I'm also, a plant murderer, so. I have a 16-year-old stepson, Sean, who loves to pull all kinds of pranks. And he's been trying some weird pranks on me lately. And she spelled pranks wrong this time. Well, I don't know if this is a she or a he. I don't know why I assume it's a woman. I feel like I assume it's a woman because it's planting, but that's a huge stereotype and I should probably shut up. So, yes. Correcting myself and my stereotypes. They spelled pranks wrong. I don't mind it as long as he's happy, and because nothing is too serious, just hiding my farming tools, replacing them with damaged ones, and so on, which I think is rude, but whatever. No one said pranks have to be nice. He just keeps messing around like any other kid, and I think that the fact that they're yeah, this is just a kid thing, it's okay. At least they're because it seems I don't know how long they've been in their stepchild's life, but, they seem to have a good understanding of this, although I feel 16 is, a weird age to be doing pranks, because my, 8-year-old sister is ha, I pranked you, but I guess she also doesn't understand what a prank is, she'll be hiding behind the couch, and then she's ha, I pranked you, and I'm oh, gosh darn. What a fool I am. The joke is on me. So maybe I just don't know anything about kids. Probably. Days ago, he posted a Facebook video of him spraying cold water on me when I was sleeping, because he's a dickwad. That's just me interjecting. They did not type that. It was embarrassing since he shared it with family. I got mad at him and had him delete it, despite him begging me to let him keep it up. He kept sulking afterwards and had his mom trying to convince me to let him repost the video, but I thought it was just a crazy request. Sean suddenly became friendly and asked if he could water my plants. I was glad he asked, and I gave him the watering can, and told him to start with the plants in the kitchen. He was gone for a few minutes, but then he came back and he started watering all the plants in the house. Which I personally think that's like suspicious, to be like sulking and whining and then be like, hey, can I help you with this? But maybe I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'm stupid. I don't know anything about anything. I just know that when I'm upset, like, something has to happen to make me change my mood. Like, if I'm angry about something, even if it was my fault, like in this case, where it's like, the kid shouldn't have sprayed water on someone while they were sleeping, but, you know, they're angry because their funny video isn't on the internet anymore, in the sense that they posted it. It's out there because the internet never dies. But, yeah, I feel like I need something to change my mood. And so, I mean, if nothing happened, like maybe something happened, but if nothing happened, then I'm not gonna be in a good mood all of a sudden. So it's suspicious to me, but whatever. Later in the evening, I was cleaning my tools, and there was a weird smell coming from the watering can. It smelled like bleach. I freaked out and checked my plants, and the same smell was coming from them. I confronted Sean and asked what he was watering my plants with. He acted dumb and said nothing, but I found a bottle of bleach in his room, which made me lose my temper. He had admitted to watering plants with bleach to get back at me for making him remove the video. I was mortified and immediately canceled the weekend trip to the national park that he was looking forward to. He started crying and saying it was too much and that he made a mistake in the moment of clouded judgment. I refused to discuss it. My wife feels bad. Sean hasn't been eating right since I canceled the trip, but he damaged my plants and caused me hurt and pain. She thinks an apology is enough. He's a kid and made a mistake. She wanted me to let it go and said by canceling the weekend trip that could have excuse me, I can't read. But I said canceling the weekend trip is officially his punishment, period. I got called unreasonable and stubborn for this, and that I don't respect her as a parent too. And said taking away the only thing he cares about most and looked forward to reeks of abuse. Sean has this mentality that if he admits to doing something wrong, then he'll be forgiven. This isn't how it should be, but his mother thinks admitting to it and apologizing should be the end of it. So, I think that that's not abuse to be like, we're not going on vacation anymore. Because there's lots of reasons to be like, we're not going on vacation anymore. And like, if he had done something like small, that wasn't property damage, then it would be a different story. But like, he literally damaged plants, which are this person's property. It's their hobby. It makes them happy. And he like killed the plants, presumably, because pouring bleach into plants is not healthy for the plants. And so my presumption is that some of the plants are dead. Like, maybe some of them are alive and just like, I don't know if plants get sick, but like this is why I don't own any plants, but I assume some of the plants are dead, and either way, this is property damage, and I feel like saying we're not going on vacation this weekend is just fine of a punishment for like a 16-year-old. It's not like this kid's like 5, and like if he was 5, it would be weird that he got bleach. Like, you shouldn't let your 5-year-old have bleach. But I assume, just based on this, that this 16-year-old went out and bought the bleach to kill the plants. Maybe I'm totally wrong and don't know what I'm talking about, but it seems that the 16-year-old bought the plants and killed them with bleach. Or bought the bleach and killed the plants with it. I'm sorry, I don't know what I'm saying. So I think that it's not a terrible punishment to be like, we're not going on vacation this weekend now. I don't think that you deserve a vacation for killing my plants. And so that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with not the asshole for canceling a family trip. Like, you know, it's not, I personally would have wanted that video deleted as well. Moose earlier was saying that, like, they probably shouldn't have made them delete the video. Because he and I discussed this earlier. But either way, property damage is not okay. And, like, I get it, they're a teenager. They don't necessarily, like, you know, understand the ways of the world completely. Maybe they are not at, like, a higher level of thinking. Maybe they're, like, neurodivergent or something. You never know. But to me, the proper response, even if you are upset and petty, you gotta cause some sort of problem, would not be to, like, go and kill a bunch of plants. Like, I don't know. It's just my opinion. So I'm going to go on to the next one. Here's some more sexy paper ASMR. This one, the title to me definitely gives me different vibes. So, am I the asshole for feeding my boyfriend vegan food instead of meat without him knowing? And, like, the title immediately makes me think, like, yes, you're an asshole. Because, I don't know, the title to me, like, I'm not a vegan. No problem with vegans as long as they're not the, like, you're a disgusting, horrible human being because you're not a vegan type. Like, I have friends who are vegans, I have friends who are vegetarians, and they're not pushy. They're just like, yeah, this is how I am. Like, one of my friends is a vegetarian who eats mostly vegan food, but they do, you know, occasionally eat dairy things or eggs, which obviously are not vegan. But on most occasions they're eating vegan foods. But they're married to someone who eats meat and just has more of, like, the average diet, and it's not a problem for them. So, yeah, I think that the title of this would make me think, like, yeah, you're an asshole, but reading it, I'm just gonna read it now. Okay, my boyfriend is very much anti-vegan. I'm doing air quotes for those who can't see me. If you want to call it that. He doesn't have anything against vegans, but he thinks he needs meat to sustain himself, and that vegan food is disgusting, since you can always taste that it's not real meat. I'm neither vegan nor vegetarian, but I like cooking with meatless alternatives like soy and tofu. It's also a money thing for me because where I am, meatless alternatives are just cheaper. Never made a big deal out of it. Never told him it was meat, which is what changes it for me, because I would assume based on the title that they were feeding him, like, oh, this is bacon, but it's not bacon. Never told him it isn't. He also enjoyed my cooking. He never asked if it's meat. And as long as he enjoys it, I don't see any reason to tell him it's not meat. So I'm kind of like, this changes my opinions from, like, yes, they're an asshole to, like, maybe they're not, but I told him once, after we've been eating Beyond Burgers, he loved them. I told him they were actually Beyond Burgers, immediately switched to, oh, that's why it was so disgusting. I wouldn't lie to him and tell him it was meat when it wasn't. But if he enjoys it and doesn't ask, I don't tell him. But recently we were at a small gathering with one of my friends who's vegan, who was talking about meatless alternatives and cooking vegan in general. My boyfriend did the typical eye-rolling and saying vegan food is disgusting. Somehow that rubbed me wrong. He always enjoyed my cooking. So when we were both alone, back in the car, I told him that the stew we had for lunch was, in fact, vegan. And so were 90% of the dishes I ever cooked for him. He was shocked for a second, and then he got really mad that I'm forcing him to eat vegan. Forcing. I told him that he's free to cook for himself at his own apartment if he thinks I'm forcing him to eat my food, as we do not live together and don't go grocery shopping together either. He's been mad at me for the past few days. Honestly, I don't think I'm wrong here. I didn't lie to him. I'm just offering him meals I cook for myself. He never asked if it's meat, because he couldn't taste the difference anyways. So, I eat meat. And if somebody, knowing that I'm not allergic to anything in it, because, like, sometimes there's allergies and stuff, but I would presume that, like, if I had a boyfriend or girlfriend who was cooking for me, they would know what I'm allergic to. If they handed me food and they were like, try this, and I liked it, and then afterwards they were like, that's vegan, I'd be like, oh, cool. I guess I wouldn't be pissed off if they were like, that's vegan. And I don't think this person's an asshole, because they don't live together. If they lived together and she was forcing him to eat this stuff and he didn't want it, that would be different. But I feel like she's just like, I'm just cooking and you're eating my food and it's vegan. Ha. And he's just like, well, vegan food's all gross, so you're saying my cooking's gross? No. Yeah. I don't think she's an asshole. I think he's being a stupid child. That's where that is. This one, I remember printing this one, and I'm excited to read this one. Water break. Well, that wasn't water. This is a slushie from McDonald's. My water is over here. Yeah, I got drinks on every edge. Surround beverages. So, am I the asshole for holding my parental rights over my daughter? And I feel like the title doesn't give a lot of details, but I would assume they were talking about the daughter. But I remember reading this, so I'm just going to read it. So, my 49-year-old male daughter got pregnant when she was 18. She didn't want a kid, especially not that young. So after a serious talk, I said I would take her child, but she said she didn't want any responsibility for the child. So ended up signing away her parental rights. I adopted her child as soon as he was born. She went off to finish college, traveled, and I fully supported her. Okay, well, I think that's an awesome thing to do as a parent, or as a person, because if you don't want your baby and you don't want an abortion or something, because obviously your right to choose, not my business, you do what is right for you. I think it's a great thing to know, at least, that the child that you made is going to be in a good place. Obviously, she had options, and this was one of her choices. Her choice was to sign away her parental rights, which is a totally valid choice. And I think that this parent they did a good thing by offering to help their daughter in this way, even though they didn't have to. And, they wouldn't have been wrong if they didn't do this, but I think it's just a really cool thing they did. Because at least, the kid's in, I assume, in good hands. So, my son, parentheses, my daughter's child, but I will be calling him my son, end parentheses, is now 16, is an amazing kid, and my daughter has barely come to see him. And if she does come around, she just ignores him. He knows that she is his bio mother. But after a few failed reconnection attempts when he was younger, he's given up on a relationship with her. These last few weeks, a few things happened. My daughter got engaged to her long-term boyfriend. My son came out to me, and I fully support him. My son also won a small local skating competition. He's been skating since he was 9 and loves it. It's his preferred mode of transport, and he's known by the local skating community and in the skate shops. When my daughter got engaged, she said she didn't want any secrets, so told her fiancé that she has a child, but that I have adopted him. His kids, I'm not sure their ages, but they're young, not understanding that my daughter and son are estranged, wanted to meet their, quote, new brother. Even after days of refusing and kid-friendly explanations, they didn't give up. So they brought the kids to meet my son. My son was friendly with the kids and their dad, and civil with my daughter, which I think is pretty cool, because even though he tried to reach out to the mom, his bio mother, who is not his mom, she just didn't care about him at all. He's civil, and I think that that's very adult of him to be civil. My son and the kids went off to play, and my daughter and her fiance sat with me to talk. After a while, the fiance noticed my son's skating trophy on the shelf and asked about it. When I explained he looked interested. But my daughter looked horrified. She sent her fiance to check on the kids and then asked what I was doing. Letting him do something so dangerous. She said skateboarding was for, quote, delinquents, and that as his mother, she doesn't want him skating anymore. But she's not his mother. She's the one who gave birth to him, but, she's not his mother. When she said mother, I had to admit I did laugh. I reminded her that I had parental rights over him, and that she had no say. She was clearly upset by this. Called me cruel, and saying that she was a child when she got pregnant, and that she's a different person now, and is even trying for a child with her fiance. I told her it doesn't matter, and that this is my son. She then got really upset and grabbed her fiance and his kids and left. At first I didn't think I was wrong, but now I'm thinking about it, and I might have been rude to laugh and hold my parental rights over her head like that. These past few weeks have been so emotional. Maybe I overreacted. So am I the asshole? First off, parent here. Definitely not the asshole. But I also feel kind of crappy that they even think they might be. Because obviously the person who gave birth to this child is not the mother, and didn't want anything to do with this kid, because by the sounds of this, the kid reached out several times and was like, hey, I want to know you, I want to have a relationship, even though you're not, raising me. This other person is. It seems like the kid tried. The daughter didn't care, and so now she doesn't get a say. If I had given my son up to adoption, and some couple came and adopted him, signed the paperwork, they are now his parents. And I don't matter at that point. Do I matter in the sense that I created him? Yeah. They should know about my medical history and all that to be able to have it for his future. But it is not their responsibility to call me and say, hey, I'm going to sign him up for ice skating. It's not like this is... Even if it was a foster situation, that would be different. Because if it was a foster situation, then she'd still have rights. But this is a full-on adoption situation. She signed away her parental rights, and he's not even 5 or something, where, it was only a couple years ago, and maybe she's regretting the choice, but that's irrelevant in the matter, because if you're going to go to the point of signing your parental rights away, then you've gone to that point. And sure, you can regret those things, and you can try to reconnect at that point, but in the end, it's not your child still. But it's been 16 years. He's an adult. He's not an adult, he's a teenager. But he's past the point of, reconnection. He's past the point of you being I want to take it back. I want to be his mommy again. Because that's not how this works. You don't get to just be hey, JK dad, I know you adopted my son, but I want him back. He's 16. And you didn't even try. So I feel really bad for the parent here. And Reddit also agreed. They are not the asshole. I didn't read the comments of it. I just see a little sticker thingy that says that everyone agreed they're not the asshole. So this next one's kind of short, but I feel this one a lot. I also just went to go poke my microphone, but I know I probably shouldn't because there's people just here for audio, and I don't want to just irritate your little ears. I'm gonna just. So I, a 17-year-old female, hate bras, which, who doesn't? Come on. Relatable AF. I like to wear tank tops as an alternative to bras because they are more comfortable and less revealing. Quotes. Recently, I was packing for a family trip and decided to pack 2 bras on a 4-day trip. On 2 of the days, I'll wear a bra, and the other 2 days, I guess they just forgot. Yeah. On the other 2 days, I'll wear a tank top underneath. My mom noticed me pack the 2 bras and told me to get 2 more, but I refused to do so. I told her that wearing a bra every day makes me uncomfortable, and I told her it isn't healthy either, which I don't know anything about that. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But, that doesn't, in the long run, that's not the point here. She told me that it is inappropriate for me to not wear one, and that I should have some decency. So the mom's the asshole. Plus, men and kids will be around where I am going. Oh no, the men. What are we gonna do with the men? They're gonna see this person without a bra on. They're gonna die. They're gonna get an erection. They're gonna come in their pants. They're gonna fall over and die. Children too. Children are all gonna die because she's not wearing a bra. I replied with, "Then they should learn some respect," which I love that. And breasts weren't supposed to be sexual body parts in the first place, which, as a mother who is nursing, I really appreciate hearing that, because, as much as we use breasts for sexual pleasure in some cases, that's not what they were made for. They were made for feeding small people and turning small people into big people. And yeah, that's what they're for. She got upset with me and told me I am not going on the trip because I am disrespecting her. So yeah, the mom's the asshole. She did add an edit afterwards saying that she loves her mom. Her mom grew up in a third world country where she was taught to wear one or she would get sexually assaulted, which is incredibly unfortunate that there's even places like that out there. And yeah, it frustrates me to think about that. And brought up with the mindset that it is very inappropriate to not wear one. I live in the US with my family now. So, I guess they uprooted from the third world country. Where, Moose got up and stubbed his toe and is going upstairs to check on our son. So, yeah, I guess that the mom eventually left that third world country that she lived in, wherever that might have been, and now lives in the United States with her kids. But, yeah, that's beyond frustrating to think about, being told you have to wear a bra or you're gonna get sexually assaulted. That, I know that that's, the mom's experience, but that's very frustrating. And, I don't think the poster here is the asshole. Because, you don't have to wear a bra. If you don't want to wear a bra, don't wear a bra. Not my business what you're doing with your boobs. So I have one more. And this last one, excuse me, I also have comments for. Because I had to look at the comments for this last one. I almost knocked down my microphone. So it's, am I the asshole for not giving my daughter her own room? I had to look in the comments because this one does have like an answer to it as well. So I, a 38-year-old female, and my husband, I, 39-year-old male, and our two kids, a 16-year-old female and a 14-year-old male, live in an 800 square foot house in Toronto. And that's just insane to me in general, because our first apartment that we just moved from not too long ago was like 760 square feet, and that's tiny. It felt like we had one room in the entire place. Now we live in about 1,200 square feet, and it's actually livable. We can actually move around, but in 760 square feet, we could barely function with the three of us, and one of us is a baby. Also, you can hear Moose playing Fortnite in the background. What? He can't hear me.
No, I heard you. I asked if you can hear, so.
Now I can't. Sorry. We would like to get a bigger house, but 1,000 square foot house in this city costs about $1 million. Which I've heard Toronto's expensive. I have friends who live in like Oakville, Canada. It is expensive. It's ridiculously expensive. So the fact that they, I understand the not being able to move. So that's completely off the table, she says. The house we live in has 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and 1 kitchen/living room. Pardon my yawns, it's late. My husband and I live in one of the bedrooms, while my daughter and son live in the other one. Both the bedrooms are the same size and are rather small, but my husband and I are both grown adults, so we can, and we can fit in one of the rooms just fine. Now, the problem is my daughter thinks that her room is too small and doesn't want to share it with her younger brother. Now, I think there's a good point to be noted here, that her and her brother are not sleeping in the same bed, I assume. It would be problematic if they were. So yeah, you can fit one bed and sleep in one bed. They have 2 beds. And I assume they want them, like, separate a little bit. Because either they have bunk beds, or they have 2 beds and they're just, like, very close together still. Because, like, that is a tiny, tiny apartment, or tiny house. I assume, I'm thinking about it like how our apartment was. Where probably both bedrooms were the size of our bedroom there, because we just had a slightly bigger bedroom than the baby's room. And because this is more square footage, I could only assume that their bedrooms are a little bit bigger than my son's room was. But it's still tiny, is the point. Like, I personally don't think that if you have the option to live somewhere bigger, which they obviously don't, but if you can, then that is not enough space for 4 people, really. Obviously, if you can't afford to live anywhere bigger, though, then, that amount of space is what you've got, and it is better than having no space. But it is just, it's not really a functionally enough space for that. Carrying on, though. I asked her what she wanted to do about this problem, and she suggested that her brother moves to the living room couch. But I said, I can't just kick him out of his room because his sister wants it for herself. I suggested we could put up an office-style cubicle divider or curtain to divide the room if she wants privacy, but then we both realized this would be a bad idea since they share a bunk bed.
Yeah.
Okay, they have a bunk bed.
Oh.
Since the room is way too small realistically to fit 2 beds. So then it's not a big enough room for 2 people if you can't fit 2 beds. Sue me. That's just my opinion. So in the end, I told her that she can either stay in the room with her brother or she could be the one that moves into the living room because it wouldn't be fair to kick him out because she wants his room to herself. I don't like the way she phrased this. His room to herself. Like, no, it's their room. And so that's she wants his room to herself. No. I understand that she wants more space and privacy, but what can I do?
Oh, there's a fucking car.
And there's a couple edits, but I'm gonna just talk about that quick. I personally, if it was me, and you could put like a cubicle like divider in the living room maybe. So based on this, then their bedroom must be way, way, way smaller than I'm thinking about it in my head. Because the bedroom like that Moose and I had in our old apartment, you totally could have done a divider and had the 2 separate... Oh, sorry, I keep yawning. 2 separate sides. Easily. And just had 2 twin beds. Easily. Would it have been ideal? No. But easily could have been done. Right? He can't hear me. He's playing Fortnite.
Why didn't you know talking to me?
Our old bedroom at the apartment. Do you think that, like, if it came down to it, we would have been able to put a divider up in the middle of that room and have 2 separate bedrooms? Because the square footage on this is similar to the old apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
So obviously I'm thinking of this child's bedroom to be way bigger than it is because so it has to be a teeny tiny room. If you can't put 2 beds in that room, it is not big enough for 2 people. Because I get that sometimes you can't have your children sleep in separate rooms. I personally would do my all to make sure that my children had their own rooms as adults or as teenagers. Like once they're in double digits, I would want them to have their own rooms ideally. Obviously, this is not something that everyone can arrange, but that is what I would ideally be trying to do. But if that's not possible, you can't have your teenagers just sleeping on bunk beds. Like, it's not a dorm. And every dorm I've ever been in, not that I've been in that many dorms, but they debunk the bunk beds because even though it's not great, they can do it. Because you don't want to sleep on bunk beds, for crap's sake. And also, dorm living is a disgusting thing, and maybe I'll stop yawning soon, but I'm not even going to get into that right now. Dorms are disgusting and horrible. Like, they're not, like, disgusting in a traditional, like, this is gross and icky sense, necessarily. But, like, they're just, it's not a good place to be. I've dormed my freshman year of college, and never ever again would I do that. And I would, like, I think it's a great thing for people to do, but I think that the system is just crappy, is what I mean. But my thought is, if you can't put your kids in separate rooms and neither of them is willing to sleep in the living room, because I personally, as a teenager, would not have minded having the living room with like a privacy divider, because presumably everybody's going to go sleep up in the other rooms and no one's going to be in the living room bothering you. So you're going to have to make some sacrifices. Like here, we could easily be like, this couch is going in the garbage. Now we have a privacy divider. And we have a living room. And a bedroom right there. Easily. Not ideal, but easily could do it here. And we could have done it at our last place too. Would not have been the most ideal thing once again, but easily. Easy problem fixed. Wham bam. Done. But if that's not going to work, you put a privacy divider in the living room, or you sleep in the living room as parents. You put your kids in their own bedrooms. Once again, this is not because like you absolutely need to have kids I think that if you have a daughter and a son, you do have to have them separate. It doesn't matter to me, in my personal opinion. Your daughter and your son need their own rooms. If you had 2 daughters, it would be different. If you had 2 sons, it would be different. But teenage boy and a teenage girl, and it's not even like a, creepy thing. It's just, as a teenage girl, I didn't have any brothers. I had sisters. I got my own room for my sister when I was like 12 or something, or 11, because it was before my other sister was born. So I couldn't have been like in my teens yet, but I got my own bedroom. And I didn't mind sharing before them, but we also had a really big bedroom, so it was like we never bothered each other. And then my other sisters shared rooms until pretty recently, but it was the really big bedroom because it was when I moved out. So and they just have really big bedroom. They have a really big bedroom. And they're both girls, and it was just different, and you can't have your daughter and your son in the same room. Like, I don't know. I just personally don't agree with that. But as a parent, your kids have to come before you sometimes. And one of those sacrifices is like you move to the living room. Moose and I talked about this a little bit, and we were like, well, if we ever had a second child and we couldn't put them in this feasibly, divide the rooms or anything, because like if we were stuck here and we couldn't feasibly divide the rooms up in a way, like we would probably first start by switching bedrooms, because our bedroom right now is way bigger, and then putting a divider up. But if that didn't work, then we would just move down here and we'd leave the kids upstairs, because that's just what you do as a parent. You make sacrifices for your kids, in my opinion. But the edits here say, we are poor, we can't just throw money at the problem, so I assume people were like, just buy a new house, bro. Which obviously that's not going to help anybody. He is talking so loud.
I'm talking.
You're talking loud.
I'm sorry.
And the second edit, I read through some of the comments on this one, like I said, but I didn't read through all of them. But I did see the people who were saying, like, yo, you shouldn't have had 2 kids if you couldn't afford to have them in their own rooms. And obviously these are not things you can predict ahead of time. And some people, you have unplanned pregnancies, you have unplanned babies. And some people are against abortion. Some people just don't feel it's the right decision for them at that time. Some people don't feel it's the right decision for them in general. So nothing against the fact she has 2 kids. She couldn't have planned for the housing market in Toronto to be like this. And I guess people were saying that she should have aborted her son because housing prices went up. Like that's not helping anything. But I know the comments I saved were the ones saying that specifically, at this point, the smartest thing to do is to move your yourself into the separate bedroom, or your kids into separate bedrooms, and put yourself in the living room, maybe set up a privacy divider like that down there, and just until your kids move out, you have to sleep in the living room, and give them privacy because your kids' privacy comes before yours. And the original poster said that she and her husband wouldn't be able to have sex on the sofa, so they can't do that because how are they supposed to have sex? And that is why this person did get voted an asshole. Because if your sex life is more important than your children and their privacy, then you are needing to reprioritize yourself as a parent. In my opinion. And someone commented to that, intimacy is an important part of married relationships. Speaking broadly, obviously there are people who are on the A spectrum who otherwise wouldn't care or don't want sex. Wanting to keep their marital bedroom isn't putting sex over your kids. Yes, it is. When it is not necessarily, unless it is saying, sorry kids, you two teenagers have to share a bedroom that is clearly not big enough for two people because we can't fit two beds in it. So therefore, you can't do it because I need to have sex. Which you can still have sex on the couch while the kids sleep. It's not like the kids are going to be home all the time. They're teenagers. Who's home all the time? But I don't care. You're not doing it right. And this person was like, teenagers are perfectly fine without their own space. And a lot of people in the comments were saying, well, they used to have 15 kids, and all 15 kids were in 3 bedrooms or something. And I'm like, yes, but they were also insane. Those are the same people who ruined the economy and the world. The baby boomers are not the people we should be idolizing for parenting. And that's just... They didn't grow up right. If you were born during the baby boom, you didn't grow up with a good relationship to anybody or anything, and that's why you went and screwed up the world. So, therefore, that's why this person got voted the asshole, because they like their sex better than their kids, and they clearly don't care enough about their children's privacy. And that's the end of my first episode of my podcast. Tune in next week on whatever day I posted this week, because I'm still trying to figure out what day I'm going to post, and to watch the next episode of Nobody's Listening, or listen to the next episode of Nobody's Listening. And I appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much. Outro.